Hey guys, ever since I uploaded that Airsoft vs Paintball video in February of 2021, I've received so many comments on that video with people joining in on the discussion. These comments ranged anywhere from full-on agreement to what I had to say, to flat-out disagreement. Some people added supporting points to my opinions, while others felt the need to constructively criticize those points, or even mention a few things I had left out in that video. This video is the much needed part 2 for my Airsoft vs Paintball topic. Just so we're clear, the purpose of this video is not to try and drive any nails further or put down paintball, because that's not something I would intentionally do to the sport I played for nearly 4 to 5 years before Airsoft came along. The purpose of this video is to address the comments after my first video. It's to right some wrongs, address some things I missed, as well as give credit where credit is due. Do I still think Airsoft is better for me or others looking for a new hobby? Of course I do, but I do have an opportunity to keep this ball rolling a little bit longer. So why not? First off, the feedback after my first video was extremely positive. 99% of the comments were very descriptive and respectful no matter what side people were coming from. Except for this one, you're very mean. This feedback allowed me to create a new list of topics regarding the everlasting Airsoft vs Paintball saga we find ourselves in. Let's jump crotch first into this list, shall we? Cost. First strike paintballs. Backspin technology. Realism. The rise of SPEEDSOFT. Gun maintenance.
Where's the money, Lebowski? You want that money, Lebowski? Bunny says you're good for it. Where's the money, Lebowski? Where's the money, Lebowski?
Okay, so while we definitely addressed cost in my first video, what I clearly overlooked was the aspect that the price of paintballs differs drastically depending on where you live. Here in Canada, for the most part, it's difficult to purchase paintballs outside of your local field that you are allowed to use at your local field, if at all. Local, regulated fields in Canada set the price. And the price isn't cheap. $40 to $45 for 500 paintballs. Let's be clear, I'm fully aware that a case of 2,000 paintballs or maybe more purchased outside of local fields costs around $40. At this price, Airsoft BBs are still much cheaper while still being much more plentiful in quantity, maybe $25 to $30 for 3,000 or more BBs. However, for those living outside Canada, such as the UK or USA, paintballs cost much less on average compared to the prices here in Canada. Regulated fields in either of these other countries offer much more for much less. I can't really break down the global economy of paintballs for you guys, but clearly it's not consistent everywhere you go. What I can tell you is that the price of Airsoft BBs here in Canada is considered on the cheaper side. The price of BBs in the United States is also just as cheap, or at least it scales according to the Canadian market or vice versa. This either means the manufacturing and transportation costs for paintballs in Canada is higher, or paintballs are a less desired commodity in Canada, or both. Or the price that the field set here in Canada has become the norm and no one's questioned it. I've read so many comments with people saying the price alone was the deciding factor that turned them away from paintball. And that's a shame. Just know that if your local field gives you a great deal on paintballs wherever you live, I think you're one of the lucky ones. Personally, I'm curious to know what price you pay for paint at your local field. You know, for research.
First Strike is the world's first paintball sniper round. It increases accuracy up to 25 times and range 2 times of a normal paintball. As you know, paintballs are typically a full circle, full sphere. A First Strike is essentially a half circle with stabilizing fins on the rear.
All right, okay, calm down. In my last video, with a swift wave of my hand like some clueless buffoon, I proclaimed Airsoft as the only option if long-range play is what you seek. And then I got absolutely bombarded by comments letting me know First Strike paintball rounds say hello. While I still should have mentioned them in my previous video, I think unfortunately we can all agree here that the price for First Strike rounds isn't very welcoming for anyone playing paintball. That being said, First Strike rounds are absolutely phenomenal little guys that go as far as 400 feet while maintaining the ability to explode on impact. That is amazing. I remember when First Strike rounds actually first came out, back when I played paintball. First Strike rounds are sort of rifled on their bottom half, allowing them to spin much like a bullet would for added range and accuracy. I don't think I ever met anyone using them during my time playing paintball, but the fact that they exist cannot be ignored. The problem I have with First Strike rounds is that they just aren't available to well beyond the average player without having to first take out a hefty loan from your local mafia. Sorry, I mean, you need some spare money, like a lot of it. $279. Wow. This category is somewhat, well, loosely related to the technology of First Strike rounds in the sense that paintballs can go far, as well as airsoft BBs, of course, except I want to specifically talk about the regular paintballs 9 out of 10 people are going to use against the regular airsoft BBs everybody uses. What I failed to make clear in my last video is that, yes, paintballs can have backspin applied to them as well for longer range. This feature also comes standard to 99% of all airsoft guns on the market. On the airsoft side of things, You increase hop or backspin via a dial or lever in a hop-up unit. This dial moves a hop-up arm up or down and applies a given amount of pressure on a rubber bucking through the window of an airsoft gun's inner barrel. This pressure is applied to the top of every BB going through your inner barrel on its way out of the gun. There are modifications airsofters can purchase or do themselves, such as a flat hop or an R-hop to apply even more backspin, or more specifically, a more equal amount of contact made on the top surface area of a BB. This gives the airsoft BB more range, accuracy, and more importantly, consistency. The problem I have with paintballs that have backspin applied to them, let's say using the BT Apex attachment, is that the longer a regular paintball has traveled, the less force it will have remaining applied to it before it hits the target. Things like air resistance and gravity will affect the paintball much longer than normal and increase the chance it won't break on impact and therefore won't eliminate the enemy player. Even if this is only happening half the time, Airsoft wins here because I've been eliminated from feeling a simple tap on the shin after a BB has struck me from 150 feet away or longer. That's all you need to eliminate someone in Airsoft. However, one may argue that the longer an Airsoft BB travels, the less I may be able to feel it once it hits me or my gear. Traditionally, Airsofters who shoot long range have a higher FPS and will use heavier BBs. This helps negate that factor altogether. Alright, so it may be true that I did poke a little fun at the paintball milsimmers in my previous video. Although we can all agree that Airsoft is unparalleled in realism with one-to-one replicas, Make-Fed Paintball has certainly found its place for those looking for absolute realism for woodsball or paintball milsim events. It is a respectable level of realism. I see you, Make-Fed Paintballers. I see you. But hey, my offer still stands. Come on over and play pretend with us. Regardless, Make-Fed paintball markers have come a long way, and even the magazines they use aren't oversized or ugly, contrary to what some naysayers may have you believe. Furthermore, although Make-Fed Paintball has found its home in the paintball community, it's still only a piece of it. Sadly, this piece of the pie wasn't around while I was trying to play Milsim Woodsball back in the day, because believe me, younger me would have been all over that. While the market for Make-Fed Paintball is certainly respectable and has probably taken over the higher end milsim aspect of paintball, I think it's fair to say it's not the forefront representation of what paintball is as a whole, unlike Airsoft, which is, for the most part, preaching realism.
Is there anyone out there who still isn't clear about what doing
SPEEDSOFT
does? Okay, last time. This is your brain. This is
SPEEDSOFT.
This is your brain on
SPEEDSOFT.
And here we are on the complete opposite side of the spectrum. SPEEDSOFT has risen in popularity over the years and has even established tournament level play. We talking cash money here, folks. We talking big serious flashy boys with their sparkly airsoft guns with no stock, running around sharp corners at Mach speed like they've downed 19 sugar sticks before dinner. But for real, I don't really know much about SPEEDSOFT, except it's whatever you'd consider a mirror image of Speedball, but with airsoft guns. This playstyle, even on a casual level at an indoor airsoft field, has risen in popularity and is starting to give those similar adrenaline vibes some people look for in Speedball. I mentioned at the end of my last video that Speedball is more of a sport than Airsoft could ever dream of being. Except SPEEDSOFT has found its way to manifest itself within our own hobby. It may be only a matter of time before Speedball no longer has that advantage of being different, and that the only reason one may choose Speedball over SPEEDSOFT is simply because that person prefers to sling paint rather than plastic. It's an interesting dilemma, I suppose. What I will say is that I do get the impression that the same problems I had with speedballers playing on my woodsball field probably exist with speedsofters playing in an indoor field full of drop-ins or regular players who don't play that style. You're gonna have that guy blasting BBs with his fancy tracer unit towards enemy players who barely have half the reaction time or desire to run half that fast past the enemy's spawn. I don't want to get too deep into this, and I also don't want to generalize speedsofters. I can only make some assumptions from the videos I've seen of indoor airsoft, which of course would make sense because if you have a camera on you and you're playing speedsoft, you're probably going ham compared to others who maybe don't have a camera. Just know that I'm seeing similarities from my woodsball days.
Hey, Screw! Yeah, you, come in.
What now, Nash?
Open your door or I'll waste you.
Assault rifle on a rope. The perfect gift for the mercenary who has everything.
I read a comment on my last video that mentioned a good point between airsoft and paintball, and that's gun maintenance. Airsoft guns are undoubtedly much harder to maintain. A simple AEG or electric powered airsoft gun full of moving parts like gears, a tappet plate, springs, and all that other greasy stuff is bound to experience some wear and tear over time. Of course, there's a reason why I use HPA, because it reminds me of the simplicity I got from a paintball marker. Paintball markers do contain complicated circuitry, but that's mostly for stuff like programmable triggers. The need to crack open your paintball marker just isn't as necessary compared to opening up an airsoft gun and cleaning out some old grease inside the gearbox, or to upgrade parts. Obviously, there are people who enjoy this aspect of airsoft and in fact enjoy it so much that's the first thing they do when they get a new gun. They crack it open and upgrade all the moving parts to make the gun more reliable and powerful. I'm definitely not that kind of person. I'll drop an HPA engine in there and you know what? Good enough for me. The problem I have with a worn AEG is that if one moving part inside the gearbox fails, the entire gun fails, or will fail. Of course, if you take good care of your gun and don't abuse it, obviously you'll be just fine. But all it takes is a few chipped teeth off a rotating gear and next thing you know, friction and heat may destroy other moving parts. Paintball guns can obviously still break down over time, but usually it's a problem with air pressure, O-rings, or damaged circuitry if you're abusing your paintball marker. So here's the thing. At the end of the day, I think it's fair to say both sides have their own problems. The only thing this video does is explains those little extra bits I left out or didn't quite expand on in my first video. Obviously, I still recommend Airsoft if you had to pick between the two. That being said, it's really going to depend on how accessible either of these two choices are for you to enjoy. For me, paintball isn't accessible. The paint is expensive here, the local field is terrible, and Airsoft is easily on the rise in Western Canada, or maybe most of Canada, while I fear paintball is losing touch with young adults seeking that weekend thrill from either option. That being said, Airsoft needs to do a better job at welcoming potential new players if it wants to grow. The Airsoft community needs to welcome paintballers interested in trying something new. Both of our communities need not hate one another, but instead work together and play alongside each other, unless you live in Australia. Sorry guys. especially during the moment in time we find ourselves in here in Canada, or for that matter, any moment in time either of our hobbies are at risk. Well, hopefully this video cleared a few things up. If you made it to the end of the video, I do appreciate that very much. Let me know what you play and why. I absolutely enjoyed reading the comments from my last video about this topic, and I'd love to read more and find out why you play Airsoft or Paintball, or both, or none. As always guys, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.